Aloha and welcome to this module on application design, specifically web application design, and more specifically, the use of the Meteor framework. This is going to be, I think, potentially a really transformative module, or at least this module may not be transformative, but you're going to start a transformational journey. In the sense that when you get done with the next few modules of learning Meteor, you'll suddenly realize that you're capable of implementing multi-user applications to solve simple kinds of data management problems in like a day or two. It's going to be crazy how fast you're going to be able to throw together relatively high-quality applications for simple data management. It's just insane. Meteor is a really, I think, a kind of a revolutionary breakthrough in the development of applications that run on the web. That's quite a lot of that sounds a little hyperbolic, but my experience with it thus far has been very, very positive. And very positive in the sense that it makes a lot of things that used to be fairly complicated trivially easy, and it makes other things that you used to not even try to do at all quite accessible. So that's kind of what I mean by revolutionary. Now, let's be frank. There is a learning curve, and in fact, for those of you that have built web applications in the past, you're gonna in some ways be at a disadvantage, because if you're used to thinking of the web in terms of a request response cycle, you got to throw all that away, okay? Because it's just not happening basically with Meteor. They have a different way of thinking about the way clients and servers interact, and so that's going to take quite a bit of getting used to. In this module this week, we're going to be playing in the shallow end of the pool with respect to Meteor. We're not going to do anything complicated. We're going to be basically working our way through several kind of hello world Meteor applications. You'll find that the hello world Meteor application is quite a bit more sophisticated than the hello world application in other web application frameworks that you may or may not have played with. So it's worth spending a little bit of time with these, and I'm specifically having you go through a couple different ones because they present slightly different aspects, or they present the Meteor framework in slightly different ways, and I'm hoping that by seeing different authors' perspectives on the basics of the framework, it's going to help the concepts sink in, and if you didn't quite get it the way one author explained it, then you'll maybe figure it out when the next author presents it in a slightly different way. Okay? So we're going to start. There's this 20-minute screencast that I think is definitely worth listening to. That's just kind of watching. They have this JavaScript for Meteor page, and I think you should just review it. Hopefully it's fairly trivial for you guys at this point, but not bad. The Meteor docs, you don't really, I want you to kind of see that they're here, but for the most part, I'm hoping that you won't spend too much time digging around in them, because everything, at this point at least, will be fairly self-explanatory. Then we get into experiential learning, and this first part is basically working through the Meteor's the Meteor.com first tutorial. The only change here is that I want you to keep practicing our style, which is creating a GitHub repo, creating an IntelliJ project inside that Git repo, and having the correct git ignore so your IntelliJ stuff doesn't get committed. And so that's one thing that we'll be focusing on a lot in this module, is integrating all our different tools. And then I'm going to this polling app, which is just somebody else's, from this other yourfirstmeteor.js app tutorial. This is a different a different style of Hello World, and you'll work through that in pretty much the same way. And I think you'll find that it's pretty useful. Now, what I'm going to have you do here, once you've worked through the tutorial, is do a WOD where you do this thing about removing the insecure and the auto-published packages, and you'll understand that once you go through the initial Meteor tutorial what is meant by that. But it's one of these core concepts in Meteor that you have to be comfortable with. So there is a WOD here. 15 minutes is the RX time, so it takes a little bit of time to go through. But I think you'll feel a little more comfortable with Meteor, and then we'll go through the Discover Meteor tutorial, which is where you'll buy the book Discover Meteor, and you'll go through half of the book. You'll get up to chapter 5, or the first 4 chapters anyway, and then for a WOD you'll add a little form to the application, and that'll help you. Just do the really very simple, small as possible. You're adding 20, 30 lines of code at most, so it's very small amounts of stuff. But right now, I'm just trying to help you get into the mindset of Meteor, and that will be a struggle. It's gonna take kind of immersing yourself in it. This is one of these modules where I really recommend that you get started right away. You put a couple hours into it the first night, and then you set it down, and then you come back the next day and you put a couple hours into it, and you just keep plugging along. And hopefully around the 4th or 5th day, things are going to start to sink in. If they don't sink in totally on this module, that's okay. I don't expect it to sink in totally on this module, but we're going to keep kind of plugging away with it, and I think within a couple 3 weeks of fiddling with Meteor, you're going to start to feel comfortable, and it's going to feel good.